What's going on, guys? My name is Aaron. In today's video, I want to talk to you about crafting in Path of Exile 2. I'm going to break down all the major systems, and this is going to be good for new players and veterans alike. Let's dive in. The most basic thing about crafting that you need to know is that crafting in Path of Exile is based off of the currency orbs that you pick up off the ground. Each one performs its own function on the items that you have and are important at different steps in the process. So let's briefly introduce the purpose of all the major crafting orbs. You have scrolls of wisdom, which identify items on the ground that are currently unidentified. It'll just show you the modifiers that an item has. A transmutation orb will take a normal item with no modifiers on it, and it will add one affix to the item, a prefix or a suffix. Keep in mind an item can have 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. Now, let's say you've used that transmutation orb to take an item and turn it into a 1 suffix modifier item. You can now use an orb of augmentation on it to add a mod from the other affix type, so a prefix or suffix. If you already have a suffix, it will add a prefix. You cannot have a magic item with 2 of the same prefix or suffix. An alchemy orb, much like a transmutation orb, can only be used on a white item. However, this will add 4 modifiers and make it a rare item. Similar to a transmute or an orb of alchemy, an orb of chance will take an item and randomly choose magic, rare, or unique. It's heavily weighted towards the magic and rare, so don't expect to get a unique. A regal orb can take a magic item with 1 or 2 mods and make it into a rare by adding any mod. It's generally only advised to use a regal orb when you have 2 modifiers on the item already, but it is not required. An exalted orb is like an orb of augmentation for a rare item. It will add 1 modifier, prefix, or suffix depending on where there's space, and nothing else. An orb of annulment will remove 1 mod from any item that has a mod. A chaos orb acts as a exalted orb and a null at the same time. It'll remove a mod and add a new one. A divine orb will change the numerical values on the item, and then a Vaal orb will corrupt the item, giving 1 of 4 outcomes that we'll get into. So let's talk about what Vaal orbs do. It will take an item, make it no longer be able to be modified, and it will have 1 of 4 possible outcomes. Number 1, it will add an enchantment, which is another implicit modifier that doesn't overwrite your regular implicit. We aren't sure what the pool of these mods will look like, but Jonathan did say they will be very strong. It can take and roll up to 3 modifiers on the item. This is probably not desirable, but may not break your item. The third option is it can add a socket, ignoring the existing socket limit. A body armor can have 2 sockets, but if you corrupt it, it can get a third. Lastly, it can break the item. We're not entirely sure what Jonathan meant by break the item, but probably means destroy it. There are ways to generate currency in this game that aren't killing monsters, and it's disenchanting and salvaging. Let's start with disenchanting. Instead of selling rares and magic items that you find on the ground for gold, you can disenchant them. There is a vendor that you will basically trade the items to, and they will return you pieces of transmutation orbs if you sell them magic items, or regal orbs if you sell them rare items. This means early on picking up random loot off the ground and taking it back to the disenchanter will be very valuable. The salvage bench works similarly, where you can sell qualityed items, whether it be armor or weapons, for whetstones and armor scraps, which can be used to reapply quality to your items. So there are going to be a number of crafting systems in the endgame of Path of Exile, but let's talk about some of the ones that we know will be in Path of Exile 2. Number 1, we have Essences. Essences are returning in Path of Exile 2 with a slight modification. They no longer will turn a rare item into a new rare item. They will serve 2 functions instead. Regular essences will turn a normal item into a magic item with 1 modifier of the targeted group. So no longer will you be able to force move speed on. You will now get a speed modifier. So if it's a pair of boots that doesn't have any potential mods for speed other than movement speed, well then you can still force it on. But essences include things like speed mods, cold mods, life mods, etc. The second type of essence is a greater essence. A greater essence will take a magic item and turn it into a rare with another forced mod. So in theory, you could take an essence, force a mod on, aug a second mod on, and then force a third mod so that you now have a 3 mod rare with 2 forced mods. This is probably going to be the start of a lot of very strong endgame items. Speaking of endgame, it's very likely that omens are going to be a major crafting mechanic in the endgame. Omens change the way that your currencies affect an item. For example, we've seen an omen that makes it so when you use an annulment orb, only a suffix can be removed. It is likely there is going to be a number of these in the endgame that allow you to do a lot of different interesting things with crafting, but we won't know until we get there. Another really important system is sockets and runes. Items are going to be able to have sockets on them In PoE 1, these sockets held gems. In PoE 2, they will hold runes and soul cores. These are items that give you one or more modifiers to add into your item. It appears to be the case that all of these runes will become locked when you place them in, so be careful which one you choose. This is going to be a great way to solve resistances, etc., so keep an eye out for those. So my guess on how to make endgame items in Path of Exile 2 is going to be starting with either a good rare or a white base that you essence twice in order to get a 3 mod item, and then you use omens, exalts, chaos orbs, etc. to finish your prefixes or suffixes, whatever you need. My guess is that essences respect omens, so you should be able to use an essence with an omen available, again, to help you force certain mods. For example, life is a prefix on boots in Path of Exile 1, but there are a number of suffixes that have life, like life regen and life regenerated per second. If you use an omen that allows you to only slam on a prefix, and then you use an essence, will very likely get the mod that you want. There's going to be a significant amount of randomness in this system, but as we get closer, learn more, and get our hands on the game, we're going to figure out how to remove that randomness to make the best items that we can. As we learn more about these systems, I will be posting about it here on my YouTube, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll also be talking about it on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/AER0__. I'm live almost every single day, so stop by, drop a Twitch Prime, and say hello. Apologies, I'm making another video while sick, but if you got to this point, I appreciate you. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care.